Welcome everyone. Here we are at Beth Azor's 5th annual Women Real Estate Investment Summit. We are very excited to be here. We're talking with a lot of amazing women today, and today we have Mandy McAllister on the Crexi Podcast with us. Mandy, how are you?
Hi, I'm so good, Shanti. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you here. So just to kick us off, tell us a little bit more about who you are, where you're from, and what first brought you into the world of commercial real estate?
Sure. So I am a multifamily investor. Largely that is home for me, with multifamily not necessarily penciling over the last few years as well as it has previous years. I've seen a couple shiny pennies that I've chased. So I now also own a car wash and a motel, but home will always be mid-size multis. I love a 30 to 50 unit that I can buy by myself or with just a few partners. I think it's a really missed space. The big guys are looking for the 100 units plus, and the mom and pops that might think a 30 or a 50 is too big. It's that beautiful kind of Goldilocks spot.
Yeah, how did you get into that space? What first caught your eye, and maybe was there a first deal that was just really game-changing for you?
The first thing for investment that I ever bought was a fourplex. So I immediately saw the scale that came from a single acquisition, that I didn't have a fear of being 100% vacant. So I knew that I wanted to lean into the scale of commercial real estate, of multifamily specifically. And then I learned about agency debt and the opportunity to have non-recourse government-backed loans. And that's the thing that really had me dive in completely to the larger stuff. And when then I figured out the management piece, if I can get to about that 50 unit size, then I can have at least a fractional person and a third-party manager managing my stuff, so that I'm not calling 47 different departments like I would be at that first 4 or that 6 unit that I had.
Totally. So walk us through the process of building out that delegation system. Like,
Sure.
What things were most important to you with people you brought on to do property management? Were there any red flags you watched out for? You're like, maybe I don't want to work with these people. What was your mindset like when going through these decisions?
On the larger things, the mid-size 50-ish units, I think one of the most important things is you have to have that third-party manager that's going to give you a fractional person. Because you can afford a full-time person on the larger properties. Mid-size, you need the fractional. I'll say that I've worked with property managers more so in like the motel space than in the multifamily space. I've been very lucky because we have to work with agency debt lender approved third-party managers on the multifamily side. But on the motel side, my commitment to measuring things, I really firmly believe that you cannot manage what you do not measure. My commitment to measuring things has been different than some of my property managers on the motel. So that is absolutely a red flag. I want to be able to look at a dashboard and know exactly the health of my assets at any given time.
Data is power.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're big believers of that at Crexi, for sure. From that first investment and throughout your career, were there any significant challenges or obstacles that you faced at any point in your career that really asked you to level up? Whether that's from a skills perspective or just like a personal growth perspective, does anything come to mind, and how did you confront that challenge?
I am a personal development junkie, I would say. But I think that something that I see a lot in GoBundance Women in dealing with other female investors and entrepreneurs is this idea of imposter syndrome. And, oh, I'm just some little farm girl from a small town in Illinois. Why would I ever be the one to go do this grand thing, right? So I think that probably my greatest hurdle, and a hurdle that I see for a lot of female leaders, is that of imposter syndrome, is that of diving into stress and thinking that you have to take it all on and not asking for help. I think that is something I absolutely stand for, is empowering women to know what their ask is and to feel free and like they have permission to ask for help when and where they need it. Because the only way that you grow is by leverage and leveraging other people's knowledge and other people's skills.
Absolutely. So did you have somebody at any point in your career, maybe early on, that was that first person you asked for help, like a mentor, or somebody showed you that this was the path you should take to be growing your business?
I was first interested in investing in real estate when I was in college in 1999, and then didn't do anything with it until 2015. Oh, so wow. I had done all of the learning. and all of like it's entertainment if you're listening and not doing anything with the knowledge, right? But I had found this fourplex and I knew that it worked. I knew in my core, that inner knowing, like I knew that it worked, but it still felt scary. So I showed the numbers, I showed the plan to someone who had done a lot of transactions, and he said, oh yeah, that's I do that 6 times on Sunday. Like, no problem, that's something you should do. So just another constant path that I know that I'm on, that I see a lot of female entrepreneurs on, is that learning to trust your inner knowing, learning to trust your own judgment in whatever thing you're doing, especially when it's bigger and scarier and potentially outside of your comfort zone. So that guy who does deals that I wouldn't do told me that it made sense to him, so I gave myself the permission to do it.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned too, you're a part of some women empowerment groups. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so GoBundance Women, we are the tribe of healthy, wealthy, generous women who choose to lead epic lives. We are entrepreneurs from across the United States who are striving to do more, not just in our finances, but in our lives in general. Because as an investor who's found some level of success, I'm sure that you know that it becomes about so much more than the money at some point. So you realize that it's the time freedom, it's the chance to fully connect, to give back in a way that feels amazing. So this group of female entrepreneurs, we have a men's division too that are also a number of investors, but we set goals around how we want to feel and how many adventures we want to go on and those types of things. So it's been really incredible to be a small part of a lot of women's journeys.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and I think too, conferences like where we are today, they're so important because I think so many women don't even know that there is this. So I'm curious, based on your experience, what can women do to really take a chunk of commercial real estate industry and make it their own? And then conversely, what can the industry do to open up more of that awareness and knowledge to female entrepreneurs and investors?
I really think that many women who are even investing in real estate, maybe single family homes or short-term rentals or whatever, they see commercial real estate as, oh, that's so scary. That's for old white dudes in navy suits. And one thing that I love to talk about when I help people invest in commercial real estate is the idea of it's not harder, it's just more. If you're underwriting a fourplex, if you can run those numbers and understand what truth looks like on a fourplex, you can do the same thing on a 50 unit or 100 unit. It's not harder, it's just more. So I think the opening the door to the brain space, because part of my personal development journey has been, I love Tony Robbins and some of his distinctions, and this idea that it's always 20% or less the actions and the ability to figure out the mechanisms to make it happen. And it's always 80% or more the brain space. So I think it's challenging groups of women to show up for each other, to be the new leadership, that there's room at the table, so let's cheerlead each other, let's lift each other up, and let's make these types of deals available to other women. And I think that it has been a boys club, commercial real estate, to now, and I've loved working with the men I work with. I would not be where I'm at without the men that I've had an opportunity to partner with and work alongside. The more just providing a seat at the table, asking the questions, is the path to more female real estate investors in commercial.
It's all about people in general.
End of day, it totally is.
Yep, I love it. So moving more into the commercial real estate sector. We're top of 2025, still a lot of the year to go. Things are still crazy in the market. What are you seeing in the particular assets and markets that you're investing in right now? And what are you keeping, a tab on? What trends are you most interested in? Do you have any controversial takes maybe?
Oh, I love a controversial take.
Lay it on us.
My way of investing is for that of the long term. I look at mid-size multis as a floor of income, as a coupon that I'm clipping. And if I can value add and pull money out, that's great to help me invest in the next deal. But the thing that I need to live the life I want to live is a floor of income. And I don't need to be right in buying 100 deals. I need to be right 3 deals. The first larger deal that I bought with some partners, a 53 unit, it throws off like $18,000 or $19,000 cash flow a month. You don't need to be right 100 times if when you're hitting greater than a base hit, it's that much money in a month. So my whole maybe controversial plan is my sweet husband's a high school teacher and he gets to retire in 11 years. And when he retires, I just have that 11 years to buy one more asset. If I buy one more asset, then my cash flow goes to a place every month that I could go buy a friggin' yacht. So what I need to do is not be right 100 times, but to be really right the time that I'm right. Yeah. So risk mitigate all along the way.
I love that you have your numbers so dialed in.
It's a truth in numbers.
Yeah, and it's a thing I think a lot of people don't realize it's as easy to figure that out.
Yeah,
as they want.
I always say that if you've got a problem, the best way to solve the problem is to put more truth to the problem. And there's nothing more truthful than numbers. So if you're underwriting or you're nervous about underwriting, just look at it like it's money coming in and money going out. So, how do you get to the truth or as close to truth as possible? And that's really all that matters.
Absolutely. You talked a little bit about that Goldilocks deal earlier. So we handed you $50 million in cash today. Where would you park?
50 million.
Besides the retirement account.
Yes, I love it. So my whole play is, the smaller stuff that is absent the institutional investors is where you get a higher yield. Because I say a lot too, that I don't want to fish where there's a lot of fishermen. I want to fish where there's fish. And that 50 unit Goldilocks deal, you're going to have a hard time placing $50 million, right? Because my play, I look at $3 to $8 million deals, but that gets me a 10% cash on cash in a really, regular is the wrong word right now, but regular way. So I still love multifamily. I still love a Class B asset, and I love to think about where will someone want to rent this in 10 years. I live in Illinois near the city of Chicago. I do not trust how we run a state. So I sold everything I own in Illinois and I started buying where I see jobs going, where I see GDP growing, where I see lots of growth and things will be happening in 30 years. So where I'm looking is Indiana and Kentucky markets.
All right. You heard it first here, folks. And then I do want to poke on that controversial thing.
Sure.
You said you love one. What is your controversial hot take?
That you don't have to do 1,000 deals. The idea of you've always got to have constant deal flow. Yes, that matters when you have capital to place and when it's time to be after something. My dad's a farmer. The idea of cycles and nature and that things do happen in cycles. To not believe in cycles is to not believe in Tuesdays. And Tuesdays keep happening. So if I want to be really right 3 times, I wait for the time when it's easier to be right.
Yep, patience is a virtue in that regard. This has been so much fun. One last question before I let you go. If you could travel back in time, meet your younger self, what is the most important piece of advice that you would give her and why?
I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but I definitely have this one. And it's that I knew I was interested in real estate investing and I worked so hard to be perfect and to do all of the master's degrees and get the right jobs and do all of the things that society told me I was supposed to do. But what I really wanted to do, what I should have done, is bought a fourplex and rented out the rest, house hacked. It's funny, every time we go on vacation, my sweet husband asks me, how many fourplexes are you gonna sell to 25-year-old girls? All of them. I really wish that I would have done that, but conversely there too, I think it's important to have conversations with you 20 years from now. So I'm 44. I talk a lot to Mandy at 64. What would you want Mandy at 44 to do today to affect the moves that I'm making right now?
That's a great way to pivot it. I love it. I'm going to ask other people that question later. Mandy, this has been so much fun. Really appreciate your time and you joining us. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Best place to find all my social media handles, stuff on GoBundance and my real estate portfolio is mandymcallister.com.